Bentornato, welcome back everybody. The objective of this presentation is to talk about hazards in pipelining. Now, if you remember when we talked about pipelining, pipelining was a design technique that took the single cycle processor data path and partitioned or split it into a number of 5 pipeline stages, and that would be as balanced as possible. And then we clocked the new pipeline architecture at a clock frequency that would be 5 times faster than the original single clock cycle pipeline architecture, and operated this pipeline in a manner that that would fetch instructions one after the other and feed them into the pipeline at the new higher clock frequency. And in this way, the total execution time from the beginning until the end of all of these instructions in our program would be much shorter than if you spent a whole original clock cycle per instruction and taken this way a much longer execution time for the whole program. Now, notice that through pipelining, we don't shorten the total execution time of a given instruction in isolation. This instruction load would take from the beginning till the end more or less the same time that it would take when you operated the data path as a single cycle processor. What pipelining achieves and gives us is an improvement and enhancement in throughput by having this essentially ability of overlapping the execution of multiple instructions, such that at any given point in time, for example at clock cycle number 4, the pipeline stages execute different instructions at different stages during their execution. For example, during clock cycle number 4, the first instruction, load instruction, undergoes the data read, data write memory stage. The second instruction, subtract, would undergo the ALU or execute stage of the pipeline, and so on. So by overlapping and achieving this instruction level parallelism, we improve the throughput, which by definition is the total number of instructions executed per unit of time. And in this way, we achieve a shortening of the total execution time of all the instructions in our program. Now, if you operate the pipeline that way, there may be some possible problems, and these issues in implementing pipelining are what we call hazards. There are 3 types of hazards. Structure hazards, when a required resource is busy. Imagine that one instruction upstream is trying to write into some register, and another instruction down the line is trying to read from the registers. Now, if the registers as a memory would not have the ability to read and write at the same time at the same or different locations inside the registers, then that would be a structure hazard. Fortunately, that's not anymore a problem. The other type of hazards are the data hazards and control hazards. Imagine a situation where we'll have 2 instructions like this, where the second one is using the result from the first one. If you look at the execution of the first instruction, which undergoes the 5 pipeline stages this way, the result of the addition will be written into the destination register X1 only during clock cycle number 5. However, if we operate the pipeline as we talked before, the second instruction would be fetched and pushed into the pipeline and would undergo its execution to the pipeline stages as shown over here. It's during this clock cycle where the execution of the subtract instruction would read the register X1. However, the result of the previous instruction will not be written into the register until later on down the line at clock cycle number 5. So if it were to operate the pipeline this way, the second instruction, subtract instruction, would read the previous, possibly most likely wrong value of the register X1. So this is what's called the data hazard. The easiest and most naive way to address that issue is to simply not fetch right away and push into the pipeline the second instruction as shown over here, but delay its fetching and pushing into the pipeline with enough clock cycles that would give enough time to the first instruction to write its correct value into the destination register, and have the second instruction pushed into the pipeline so that when it undergoes the pipeline stage of reading out of that register, it will be at the time that the register will have the correct value. This delay we're pushing to the right of fetching and execution of this instruction to the right is essentially equivalent with inserting these bubbles or no-op operations into the flow of instructions that are being fetched and pushed into the pipeline. However, the problem is that now the total execution time of our program would be longer than before. Now, there is one technique called forwarding that can address to some extent that challenge, and the idea is not to wait and introduce those bubbles until the destination register is written with the correct value, but to look at the pipeline and recognize that we could identify where the earliest during the execution of the first instruction that value is available, identify where it is needed the earliest in the subsequent instruction, and try to see if you can just forward and bring with additional wiring and possible multiplexes that result to in the next instruction where it's needed. So if that is possible, then that is called forwarding. So it's if forwarding is possible, then that would be implemented with a new component that will have to insert in our data path called the forwarding unit, whose job is to really identify those situations when it's possible to take from the output of the ALU or from the output of the data memory that information and pass it and forward or bring it back and forward it through this enhanced multiplexers to the input of the to one of the inputs of the ALU. So this is the data path now modified with the forwarding unit, whose once again job is to identify those data hazards and set the control signals for these multiplexers appropriately so that the data, the information is forwarded from wherever it's available the soonest from an instruction being executed to where it's needed the earliest in a subsequent instruction with which this would have a data hazard. That is the idea of the forwarding unit. Now, there is, however, a situation where the forwarding would not work, and that is this special case called load use data hazard. That is the case where we would have a data hazard between a load instruction and any other instruction that would use the result of that instruction. And the reason for which that is the forwarding is not working is because we would need to forward back in time. So that is not possible, and the only way to address this situation is to stall the pipeline, which again amounts to inserting some bubbles or to insert a no operation instruction in the flow of instructions as we fetch and push them into the pipeline one after another. So forwarding back in time is not possible because the earliest or in the first instruction that is involved in this data hazard, the data that would need to be forwarded is available would be over here, right at the output of the data memory pipeline stage, which would be latched and available right here in this pipeline register. It would be really earliest necessary right here, needed by this instruction, that if it were for us to fetch it and push into the pipeline here, that information would be needed over here. Forwarding would be to have this connection from this point here back in time, and that would not be possible. If we needed to forward, as indicated by these lines, forward and like this on this diagram, then that type of forwarding would be possible. But this forwarding back in time would not be possible, and in this case we essentially need to take the execution of this instruction and delay it and push it to the right, that instruction and any other that comes after it, by inserting this stall. Now, there is a last type of a hazard, and that is control or branch hazard. Imagine this example, this situation where we'll have a sequence of instructions like this, where the first one being fetched and pushed into the pipeline being a control, a branch on equal type of an instruction. Now, if you remember, the way this branch on equal control instruction is executed is that the ALU is controlled and asked to do a subtraction, and based on the result of the subtraction, we know whether we need to branch or not to the branch, to the address that we need. Now, before finding actually that, the pipeline by default would be operated by fetching instructions from the subsequent addresses after that control or branch instruction. These instructions would be fetched and pushed into the pipeline that way. Now, if we find out actually that the branch instruction should have been taken, then the fetching and pushing into the pipeline of these instructions that were subsequent to that branch on equal instruction was wrong. We shouldn't have done that. So the way to address that is to essentially flush or discard the result, the partial result of the execution of those instructions that should not have been fetched and pushed into the pipeline. So flushing is a idea to address that problem, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next video. But this is the last type of a hazard, which complicates things a little bit, because you wouldn't know until later on during the execution of this control instruction whether you needed to branch and fetch instructions from the branching address, or we should continue by normally by default fetching and pushing into the pipeline instructions that were right after that control instruction. In summary, hazards are situations that prevent starting the next instruction and the next cycle. There are three main types of hazards: structure hazards, data hazards, and control hazards. Data hazards, many of them can be addressed through forwarding, but there is one special type, the load use type of a data hazard, that still requires introducing a stall, a bubble, a no-op type of an operation that will result into a longer overall execution time. Control hazards can be addressed using this technique of flushing, which again will make for the total execution time of our program to be longer than in the case when we knew somehow, using some perfect oracle or branch predictor, right away to fetch the instruction from the branching address right away and push it into the pipeline over here, rather than waiting for the outcome of that query about whether the branch is going to be taken or not, and then possibly flush whenever we need to flush pipeline stages, we essentially again prolong the total execution time because we wasted clock cycles that we discarded and flushed. So that is the idea. We'll talk a little bit more about this stalling and flushing in the next video. Until then, goodbye, where arrivederci, as the Italians would say.